Dear students, let's open the books at page 100, Space Colonization, Exercise 1. Say the names of the planets in our solar system. Now let's listen and check.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune.
Let's get acquainted with new words, listen to them and write down in your vocabularies.
Afford, atmosphere, carbon dioxide, catastrophe,
century,
colonization, colony, construct, endless, exploration, extract, final frontier, generate,
leap, mankind, meteor, millennia, nuclear war, orbit, overcome, resources, self-sufficient, solar panel, supplies, warm something up, wipe out.
Exercise 2. Read the title of the text and quote. What could the problems of space colonization be? How could these problems be solved?
The problems of space colonization are the lack of technology and the lack of money. For example, it would take 1,000 years to travel to the nearest star system, and it costs £6,000 to put half a kilo of something into near-Earth orbit. The solution may be to give 0.25% of the world's financial resources to fund space colonization.
I don't think the human race will survive the next 1,000 years unless we spread into space.
Stephen Hawking, English physicist and cosmologist.
In exercise 3, for each gap, you are to choose the sentences, the one that best fits each gap. One sentence is extra. For example, number 1 is F. He believes that sooner or later we will be wiped out by a catastrophe such as a meteor or nuclear war. You are to finish this exercise yourselves, and now let's watch the video.
Space colonization. Future or fantasy? Since Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon on the 20th of July 1969 and declared one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, people have been dreaming about creating futuristic communities in space. Science fiction films such as Star Wars have filled our minds with images of spacecraft travelling at the speed of light to colonies on other planets in other solar systems. Until now, these ideas have just been fantasy. But now leading scientists say that colonizing space is the only answer for the future survival of mankind. But is space colonization really possible? One solution would be for us to move to space stations orbiting near Earth. After all, astronauts have already been living on NASA's International Space Station continuously since 2000. The ISS gets its power from solar panels. It generates its own oxygen and even recycles water, but there's still a huge problem. All of its food and other supplies have to be sent from Earth. Humans would need to be self-sufficient to survive in space long term. So maybe colonizing the moon would be a better solution. The moon has rich resources which could be used to construct a colony. Also, in 2009, scientists found water on the moon, which could be used to extract oxygen for breathing. However, there is no atmosphere on the moon, and it is boiling hot during 13 days of sunlight, and then freezing cold during 13 days of darkness. So any human colony there would have to live in a huge indoor biosphere. What about looking for Earth-like planets to colonize? Even if we found the perfect planet, we might not be able to get there at the moment. It would take over 700,000 years to get to Alpha Centauri, the closest star system. If we were able to travel just below the speed of light, we could reach the next star to Earth in just 6 years. So although there are many challenges to overcome, it may just be a matter of time before we are living in space.
In exercise 4, you are to fill in the words. Let's check. Eventually, they managed to overcome their problems. The ISS isn't self-sufficient because it can't produce or make everything that it needs. Climate change could warm up the Earth by 3 degrees by Celsius by 2100. Power stations release carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Only the world's richest can afford to be a space tourist. It costs about $20 million. In exercise 5, you are to choose the correct words. Let's check with dictionaries. Supplies such as food and equipment are sent to the ISS from Earth. Hawking believes we can overcome all the problems and colonize space. Some scientists believe a huge asteroid or comet could wipe out life on Earth. There are many options for colonizing space. The possibilities are endless. In exercise 6, we are to revise our grammar. When do we use conditional types 2 and 3? We use conditional type 2 to express imaginary situations which are unlikely to happen in the present or future. They are also used to give advice. We use conditional type 3 to express imaginary situations which are contrary to facts in the past. They are also used to express regrets or criticism. For example, if I want the money, I would buy a new car. If Anne had been more careful, she wouldn't have made such a big mistake. Now let's get acquainted with some more examples.
If I lived in a house with a large roof, I would install solar panels on it. If I were president of my country, I would build vertical farms in every city.
Your house is losing a lot of heat. If I were you, I would install new windows. If we all used eco-friendly forms of energy, the world would be a better place. The world would be a better place if we all used eco-friendly forms of energy.
If scientists learn more about our DNA, we may be able to create clones. We may be able to create clones if scientists learn more about our DNA. If meteors hadn't hit the Earth in the past, many species would have survived.
If I had studied harder, I would have passed my final exams.
And mixed conditionals. We are to study the table, find examples in the text. Let's check. If we had endless amount of money for space exploration, we would have already overcome these problems and built the first space colonies. Just imagine, if people hadn't given Columbus money for his voyage to America in 1492, NASA probably wouldn't even exist today. In exercise 7, you are to rewrite the sentences using mixed conditionals, as in the example. Angie doesn't like science fiction films, so she didn't go to the cinema with the others. If Angie liked science fiction films, she would have gone to the cinema with the others. You are to finish this exercise yourselves. In exercise 8, you are to listen and read the article on the right again. You are to tell 3 reasons why colonizing space is difficult. Listen to the model.
Colonizing space is difficult because it is expensive to put things into space. It is also a long way to the nearest solar system, which may have Earth-like planets, and we don't have the technology to travel fast in space.
Colonizing space is difficult because colonies would have to be self-sufficient.
In exercise 9, you are to close your eyes and imagine you are in a spacecraft. What are you doing and what can you see and hear? How do you feel?
I can see other astronauts in the spacecraft with me, and I can see the stars outside the window as well as the blackness of space. It is quiet, except for the sound of the engines, and it's very peaceful. I feel very excited to be traveling in space, and also very privileged to be one of the few humans to experience this. I'm wearing a spacesuit, and I'm floating around in the spacecraft.
Exercise 10. Would you like to live in a space colony? Why or why not? You are to write few sentences on this topic. Let's listen to the model.
I would like to live in a space colony because I think it would be the start of a new civilization. I would like to be there at the start of a new era, and I think it would be an exciting new experience with lots of interesting things to see and do. I wouldn't like to live in a space colony because I can't imagine what life would be like there. I like living on Earth, and I think it would be too different and too difficult to live in space or on another planet.